This is the wrong scene. Pretend you didn't see that. Got a sneak peek of my character sheet. Hello, welcome to the stream. So today I'm going to be starting a new game of Legend in the Mist, which is a system I found out about only a few weeks ago, but which looks really interesting. So I am quite looking forward to trying this out. So sadly, I don't have a physical book to show off on the hand cam, but that's because this book was kickstarted last year. I didn't back the Kickstarter, but it's not fulfilled yet. They're still working on that. So I have pre-ordered the book from the Son of Oak, that's the publisher, website, and I have the PDF, which I'll be showing off today. But as soon as I get the physical book, I will show it off on camera because if the PDF is anything to go by, the physical book is going to be amazing. But one thing that I can show off with the PDF that is harder to do with a physical book is the table of contents, the PDF bookmarks. So I just want to do that before we dive into things, as this book has a really good table of contents. So basically every chapter, section, subsection, every meaningful heading is hyperlinked here, which is great for running a game digitally. It has good hyperlinks in it as well. I found all the pages seem to be linked up. Yeah, let's get into it. Let's talk about the system rather than just the PDF. So, yes, before we get into the rules, before we get into the actual text, I'll just give a very quick rundown of the system. So, this is kind of a combination of like Fate and Powered by the Apocalypse. If you ever played City of Mist, it's basically the same system. It's by the same people. It's just like an evolution of the City of Mist system. Your character is made up of a collection of tags, which can be anything really. They're basically fate aspects. So your tags could be something like strong as an ox or cursed demon sword. These tags are grouped into 4 themes. Each theme also has a weakness tag, like vulnerable to a sob story, and a quest, which could be something like I'm going to be the best Pokemon master the world has ever seen. And characters gain experience by playing to or against these weakness tags and quests. The core mechanic of the game is you roll 2d6, you add all of the tags that help you, subtract all the tags that harm you, and you then roll. And there are 3 tiers of results. There's success, success with consequences, and failure. So very Powered by the Apocalypse in that style. It's a very flexible, very freeform, very a very narrative system. As I said, your tags can be anything really. We'll see a lot of examples as we flip through this book, and it's kind of up to everyone around the table what they mean. So there is a little bit more to it than that when we get into the detail, but that is basically it. And it comes in 2 books. There's a player book and a GM book. The PDF has all of them combined, and it's just under 500 pages in total, which is really long. That is a lot of rulebook. That's like the length of a big complicated game. But it's actually not a very complicated system. What makes the book so long is that it's just really, really, really well explained. It has a huge number of examples. It really goes out of its way to make everything super clear. It also has a bunch of optional systems if you want to add more details to the rules, which I really like. And it doesn't just give you optional systems, it tells you how to make your own new subsystems if you want to like add some crunch into it. So let's dig in. So just amazing art throughout this book. Get rid of this little there we go. Yeah, so I've got these little grey bars on the PDF as it has my name and order number there, which I do not really want to share on stream and immortalize on YouTube. I dislike it when PDFs do that. I understand why publishers do it, but it is a little bit of an annoyance. Anyway, amazing art in this book. We've got a little bit of story. There isn't like a setting included in the book. there is a tone that this game is kind of focuses on, which it calls rustic fantasy, and we'll get into a little bit about what that means. But there isn't like a setting in here. There is a separate setting book coming, but I can't show off the PDF for that. It's still in development. Only the Kickstarter backers have it, and I did not back the Kickstarter. So the table of contents. I want to point some things out here. So firstly, it starts with a 40-page tutorial, which is an entire solo adventure presented as a fully illustrated comic where you have like options to choose and you roll dice to see how well things go. It's kind of like a choose your own adventure thing, you know, I guess kind of like the solo Call of Cthulhu modules, but just beautifully illustrated. It gradually introduces the mechanics as you play through it. It's really amazing. I think it set the bar on like how to introduce a game. There is like a traditional example of play in the appendix, but like an example of play is okay for learning how like a session should go, but this is really, really good for learning the rules. Then we've got 70 pages of character creation, which sounds like a lot, but that's just because they give you 3 different character creation systems. The simplest one, which they explain in just a couple of pages, is just to make up your themes and tags totally freeform, because they can be anything. As long as everyone around the table agrees that your tags mean, that's fine. But then there's a big list of character tropes, so if you know what sort of character you want to be but need a bit of help, you can look at the tropes. And, you know, you either take a trope as it is, or use it as a starting point. And then after that, there's a big list of theme books, which are basically questionnaires to generate your own character themes. So if you know what sort of character you want, you can fill out a character sheet in about 2 minutes. But if you want more guidance, the book's there for you. And that's going to be a recurring theme as we look through this PDF. Like the actual stuff you need to know is quite simple, but if you want more guidance, more examples, more depth, the book has got you covered. Then we've got the rules. We'll get to those when we get to them. And then after that, we have an entirely optional set of magic rules, along with 8 different magic systems. So, you know, you don't need the magic rules. The basic rules, you can do magic with them. If you have a tag on your character which says that you have fire magic, you have fire magic. You can do the sort of things that a fire magic person can do. It's very much like Fate in that way. But if you want some more crunch in your magic, here's how you can do it. And the GM book, not to get ahead of ourselves, but the GM book also has stuff on magic, specifically guidance on how to create your own magic system. So, again, the stuff you need to know is quite small, but if you want more, the book's got you. So let's just start by looking through the tutorial, which is... This is just like mind-blowingly good. And it doesn't just introduce the rules, it also introduces like the formatting conventions in the book. So these yellow things here, it says Garen is a spirited youth, which is got a yellow background, skilled with a bow, which also has a yellow background, and a talented deer stalker, yellow background. But more than all, he is devoted to his family, yellow background. And then below that it says that the tags are highlighted in yellow. So that's how this book presents tags. We start with this story, we get some more detail about themes and tags, and we get like a character sheet here with some more stuff on it. We've got quests, so we can only see 2 of Garen's quests here. So he has this spirited youth theme, and it says his quest there is never surrender to darkness or despair. And he has this devoted to family theme, where the quest, you can't fully read that because I've got my grey bar covering it, is find a cure for my mother's illness. We've got like choices of what to do, and it explains like how to resolve things. So, you know, you make your choice, and then it says, okay, you should make a roll and see what it says happens. So this is just a really great way to learn the system. Let's see. And amazing art all throughout. We get statuses, which are kind of like tags, but they have a number associated with them. So here in this little example, there is a status, afraid 3. And statuses are basically tags, but you add the number of the status to your role rather than just 1 for a tag. Yes, that's basically what I just said. So yes, it introduces things, explains them. I've got like weakness tags here, which have this orange background. And I feel the art does a really good job of conveying the setting here. It's like, look at this monster. This thing is so amazing. Like, just it looks like a monster you would find in a fairy tale. It's not like a dragon. It's kind of like a traveler, but a really weird, obviously inhuman traveler. The vibe I kind of get from this is like Howl's Moving Castle. At least some of it, at least the parts near the beginning where like Sophie has to go into the wilderness to find the castle. Also, the scenes in the castle where Calcifer, the living flame thing, is like he's in the stove and Sophie puts a pan on top of him to fry some eggs and bacon. Also feels like maybe a bit Dolmenwood, maybe a bit Freerun as well. At least the journey parts rather than the super powerful magic fights. The theme is very much like simple people venturing out into a larger world. Magic is mysterious and with lots of attention to details and like sounds, sights, smells, emotions, all this stuff. And so this tutorial just continues explaining things, and there's a happy outcome and a sad outcome. It suggests how you could continue if you want to. So you could get some character advancement through this tutorial, and then if you wanted to, try different things, you could go back to certain pages and make different choices, or you could develop the character and maybe continue, like bring this character into another adventure. So that was the tutorial. Then we get into the introduction, which has some standard stuff. So the what is a role playing game, what you need to play, stuff that every system comes with, really. There's a bit about what if you're coming from other RPGs, which I like how they're vague. You just say other RPGs, but this is obviously that what if I'm a D&D player page. Right? Like conflicts are more than just fights, and damage is more than just hit points. There are no stats, only tags. Yep. This is the what if I'm a D&D player who has been given this rulebook section. Yes, we get a bit about what rustic fantasy means, like what vibe this system is going for. So it's about the simple little things, about small heroes from out of the way places who discover their great destinies or not. It's about small heroes faced with great perils often beyond their power or understanding. It's about journeys through the countryside and wilderness, living close to nature. And ultimately, it's about evoking that tender feeling of the legendary. And I think the art they picked, like this, whatever she is, this like giant horned woman with a furry back that's covered with creepy masks, is a great choice. It feels really, really Ghibli to me. Next, we move on to what they call the frames of play. So there are essentially 4 different modes in which they suggest you could play this game. And I think this is pretty cool because I guess normally games don't really do this. They say what sort of story they're supposed to tell. They give you the rules and you have to figure it out for yourself. But here it says you could use these rules for different sorts of things. And I was trying to think what sort of like books stories, other games these frames of play might connect to. So let's just go through these. So we start with Our Little Corner of the World. Your story could be centered entirely around the minute happenings of a small village, community, or region, with the world at large as mere background. The stakes are always low, at least to the eyes of an outsider, but for the heroes, the runaway sheep of the neighbours, or the absent-mindedness curse placed by the old grump on the village smith, pose serious concerns. Plots begin rather small and seemingly inconsequential, but in time they can spiral into the creepy, dangerous, or heroic. Examples, each one has like two sorts of examples of how you could play this. So the heroes could be tavern buddies, a whimsical version where the heroes are a bunch of good-for-nothings thrown into local adventures for no reason other than being in the wrong place at the wrong time. And I was trying to think, I can't think of something that I've read or played which fits this. Like, I can imagine how the story would go, but I'm not sure I've actually encountered a story like that. The other option is Protectors Against the Dark, a grimmer version where the heroes must protect the pastoral lifestyle of their community from the encroaching perils of the outside world, such as raids, monsters, or a creeping blight. And I think a lot of Discworld books fall into this category. I think Guards, and Feet of Clay in particular, the ones that focus on the Ankh-Morpork City Watch. So it is in a big city rather than out in a kind of rural place, but I think that's the basic premise of the story. Next, we've got An Epic Journey, which the campaign that I'm going to be starting will be. This is the standard one. So your story could be centered around a journey undertaken as part of a greater quest or purpose. Perhaps there is imminent danger to the world or region, such as a dark tyrant or impending doom, or the Fellowship is tasked with finding a rare cure or undoing a curse. Along the way, they must traverse many lands, contend with enemies most monstrous, have dealings with monarchs and strange beings, and uncover the secrets that will lead them to complete their quest. They may be called to find great artifacts of old, or mysterious magical powers that are the keys to their quest. So this is your super stereotypical classic fantasy story, right? The heroes might be a sworn fellowship, the classic epic, where the heroes set out on a declared quest to save their home or world, face to face the consummate evil, which this is, Lord of the Rings, Wheel of Time, that sort of thing. Or the heroes might be a travelling band, a less epic version where the heroes travel far and wide together for their own reasons, such as protection on the road, or they're performing a mundane task, such as mapping the West Marches, or performing in every tavern in the land. So this, I guess, could be your... it says West Marches right there. This could be your standard explore a dangerous space campaign. I ran a Dolmenwood campaign once where the players were cartographers sent to map the Dolmenwood. That's this sort of thing. We've got two more. We have Grit and Politics. So your story could feature a sense of gritty realism, focusing on a society driven by self-interest, a mean world that takes no prisoners, run by cutthroat politics, where a hero's actions have brutally realistic consequences. The heroes travel a region rife with political, racial, and factional tensions, experiencing and at times taking part in its hardships and injustices as they pursue their greater goals. The heroes might be itinerant sellswords, the grittiest version, where the heroes unscrupulously offer a service to any who would pay, wading through gutters and visiting halls of power to fight human monsters and monsters who show humanity. This is the Black Company, or possibly Malazan, but it feels very Black Company to me. Or the heroes might be a powerful house, a more political version, where the heroes are part of a ruling elite or their retinue and play the Game of Thrones. I wonder what you could do with this theme. Often based around one house and their stronghold. So yes, this is, Song of Ice and Fire, Dune, that sort of thing. And then the last one, which I wasn't expecting to see this one here, but it's nice that they have it, is a dungeon crawl. So your story could focus simply on the joys of adventuring, treasure-seeking, and getting into fun trouble, where the heroes are often glory-seeking oddballs and outsiders, drawn together into a found family or for practical reasons, to survive their next dungeon delve. Journeys are more often into the dark of an underground tomb or a long-lost temple, where the heroes face monsters and traps. Think of this more as a ramble than a story with a major plot arc, though it can have one. And I really like this one because I feel that there's a perception that you can't really do dungeon crawls with narrative systems, and it's definitely a different experience if you do a dungeon crawl with a narrative system, but they're saying here that you can do it, and here are the things you might think about. You have skilled adventurers, challenging dungeon crawls, strange people, utilitarian magic. Loot is important. It's very different from what you might imagine like a standard Legend in the Mist campaign to be, but you can still do it. And the heroes might be fortune hunters, the hardcore crawling option, where the heroes care more about reaching the treasure at the end of the dungeon than anything outside it. And I feel this is like your OSR style campaigns. Or the heroes might be a found family of rascals, a more narrative spin, where the heroes are a collection of unusual types, oddballs, and weirdos, each with their own overly dramatic story arc, who survive in a scornful world thanks to their talent at reaching treasure. This is like modern 5th edition, right? So there's lots of ways you can play Legend in the Mist. We get this rule summary, which I think is, yes, it's just 2 pages. This is basically all the rules. So we have like 500 pages of book summarized in just 2 pages here. Right, then we get on to character creation. And we get this nice explanation of Gerin, the character in the tutorial adventure. So it is a little sad that the Gerin explanation doesn't, you have to turn a page to get to it, but I suppose there is a fair bit to cover, and they do cover it in a lot of detail, which is nice. So I'll just run you through this. So we've got like the hero card here, where we've got the character's name. If we have any companions, we have like a little bit about how we feel about them. So Gerin has a companion called Erna, and he has this admiring tag. So if he is in a situation where admiring Gerna might be a help or might be a hindrance, that tag would apply to his role. We have this promise track here. These are basically experience points to improve your character, and you get these by developing your themes. So he has 4 themes. Every character has 4 themes. Each theme has a type, though the type is just kind of descriptive. The type kind of suggests how you might develop this when your character advances, but really it doesn't matter that much. Each theme has a title, so here we've got like Spirited Youth, and the title is both the name of the theme and also a tag. So if Gerin is in a situation where being a Spirited Youth is a help, he can add that to a role. Each theme has 2 power tags, so here he's got Untapped Fierceness and Inner Compass. And I think Inner Compass is a great example of a tag, because it can be interpreted in 2 completely different ways. And it's up to the table like which ways is the correct way. So you could interpret that as he has an amazing sense of direction. Like he is never lost, he always knows like where he is, and how to get between places, which makes sense because he also has this Deerstalker circumstance, and he's skilled with the bow, so he's very outdoorsy. And in the tutorial adventure, he goes through a forest and climbs up a mountain, so he does have a very good sense of direction. Another group could interpret Inner Compass as he has a very strong moral sense, which maybe fits a little closer with being a Spirited Youth, but both interpretations are valid. Like, you don't have a list of skills and numbers and stuff. You have tags that can be anything, and so long as the group agrees on what a tag means, that's okay. Each theme also has a quest, so here he has Never Surrender to Darkness or Despair. And quests are the main way that you develop your character. I'll get into character development in a moment. Let's see what else to point out here. Each theme also has a weakness tag, so for Spirited Youth, he is hard-headed. For Deerstalker, he is a loner, and so on. So these would apply penalty to rolls, whereas your power tags, the yellow highlighted ones, they only apply bonuses to rolls. He has a backpack, so we don't really track inventory in this game. Like, you have the stuff that it makes sense for you to have. If you're woefully unequipped, you might have that might be represented by a tag. The tag could even be woefully unequipped. But if you want to have an item and to have it like affect your rolls, you can have it in your backpack. So here Gerin has a protective charm, so he would get a bonus to rolls where having a protective charm makes sense. And the final thing I want to point out on these character sheets is we have these 3 icons at the top of each theme sheet. So we have a leaf, which is circled on all of them. We have a sword and an arrow and a crown. And honestly, this is the one thing I think is not so great on these theme cards. Like, it's not very clear what these mean, but essentially this represents your power level. So the leaf is like normal everyday. They call it origin, which I don't think is a good name, but it's like normal everyday, like normal person stuff. Then the sword and arrow is adventure, and the crown is greatness. And essentially, if you're acting in a situation where you are like more powerful than your opponent, you might get a bonus to something, or you might just automatically succeed. So let's say that Garen had he's got skilled with a bow as an origin tag. Let's say that he had it as an adventure tag, like he was he's like a famous bowman or a famous hunter. And we have regular Garen and adventure tier Garen hunting a bow, hunting a deer rather. The GM might say, okay, regular Garen, you have to make a roll to see how well you do. Whereas the GM might say, okay, adventurer Garen, you just succeed because you are like, you're definitely going to succeed at this because you're so good with a bow, like you're known throughout the lands for your archery abilities. Instead, the role isn't going to be to see if you succeed. The role is to see like how well you do. That wasn't an amazing example, but you get what I mean, hopefully. So moving on. Yes, we just get all of what I've just said is explained here, along with more examples. We have all these little sidebars that give like a little bit more detail, which is quite nice. Yes, we have our 3 methods of character creation. The simplest way is you just write it down. You just think of your themes and tags and write them down, because they can be literally anything. Then we have picking a trope. So there's a list of tropes. We will flip through them next. And essentially, if you have a rough idea, or maybe you don't even have a rough idea, maybe you just want some inspiration, you can look at the list of tropes and pick something out from there. And the trope will point you to like some themes and tags that you might want to use. Then we have the most complicated way, answering theme book questions. So these are questionnaires that help you generate your own themes, and we will look at some of these as well. We get more detail on everything. A little bit of guidance here for if you're coming from, let's face it, D&D. If you want to build a D&D style character, consider for your themes, you could pick your people. So maybe you want to say that you are a dwarf. You could have a theme that is dwarf, and it could maybe have the power tags always know where I am underground as one of them, and skilled metalworker as the second power tag. And maybe the weakness tag could be short. And then the quest could be, I will recover the special gem that the dragon stole from my people and put in his hoard. See, it's easy. I just made it up off the top of my head. So yes, let's say we're building a classic RPG character. You'd have your people, which could be dwarf. You'd have a trait, which it says your primary or best attribute. So you could be strong as an ox, or have nimble fingers or something. A skill or a trade for your class. So if this is a dwarf, I guess the stereotypical one would be a cleric. And then finally, a circumstance for your background. So maybe our wise dwarven cleric was previously a gem cutter. Right, and then we get onto the tropes. So we've got several categories here. So we have like village folks on this page and wanderers on this page, and each category has 3 examples. And each one, let's just look at the what's a fun one. So we've got outlaws, person at arms. I don't know, aspiring squire is a fun idea. So each one has like a description and some theme kits that you should choose if you want. Of course, you can always do something else. And then it suggests 3 theme kits for you to choose one of. And it also suggests items you can start with in your backpack. So if you're an aspiring squire, the description is that you want to be a hero of the realm, to fight evil and injustice, to vanquish your dark enemies. That is what you've always dreamed of. And so you've sworn yourself as a squire to a travelling knight, a real knight with armour and all, whom you now follow. You still get sore after a few swings of the sword, but you are on the path to fulfill your calling. What could possibly go wrong? And so by default you would take the theme kits: Become a Knight, which is a devotion theme, Skirmisher, which is a skill or trade, and Inspiring Master, which is a companion. And then you would choose one of these 3. So Horse and Panoply for possessions, Tenacious as a trait, and Heart of Gold as a personality. And you would probably want to take one of these 3 items: a Safe Ward medallion, an embroidered handkerchief, or a hemp rope. But of course, this is just suggestions. You can deviate from this as much as you want. You could take this as a starting point and completely change it. There are no character classes, they're just suggestions. So we also have Faithful Ones, these are like the... So we have basically a paladin, an exorcist, and a healer. We have magicians, witches. I think the Bogland Recluse is my favourite of these tropes. So no matter how many stay away signs you put up, or how many skulls you impale on spikes, they'll always come looking for you at your would-be swampy retreat. Somehow they got it in their shriveled heads that you can concoct a cure for their boils, or an ointment to make them stronger. And while they're not wrong, you're always tempted to sell them something that would have the opposite effects. Just a truly, like, asocial, probably like unlikable person as a character, and you can be that witch if you want. We have strange creatures, because you don't have to be a person, you could be anything, really. So it could be a grouchy household hob, a river beauty, or even a skin changer. This, I assume, is a household hob. We have nobility, so it could be a haughty courtier, a heavy-hearted monarch, or the hope of the realm, which is your like hero trope. Not really a beginning hero. I think this is probably a hero who is established at this point, someone whose heroism has been recognized. So you could use this as like someone setting off from the beginning of their epic journey, but they've maybe done like a few great feats at this point. And there's also even a monster and gods section. So you can be a forest god, a dread vampire, or a resplendent dragon. You can be anything, really. Yes, that's them. So next we have our theme book. So these are questionnaires to generate a theme. So let's go for Relic. I think Relic is a fun one. So I'll just point out the power levels. So these ones I'm currently flipping through are all origin themes. So these are fitting for like normal everyday people. And then we get on to adventure themes. So these are for, well, adventurers, people who have people who excel in some way. They're, you know, a cut above your standard person. And we also have greatness themes. So destiny, dominion, mastery, monstrosity. These are for truly powerful characters. So there's a lot of variety of character strength here. Anyway, let's look at Relic and just walk through how a theme book works. So what is a relic? It is an item of magical or spiritual power, a strange heirloom, an advanced artifact, like anything really that you could vaguely describe as a relic. Like the Legend of the Mist police aren't going to come and tell you, hey, that's not a relic. As long as your group is happy with it, it's a relic. So it says you possess an item of power or a mysterious artifact which changed your life. Its enchanted nature cannot be denied, at least not by you, and its power guides or influences your decisions and actions. It might be a source of arcane power, a container for a spirit, or a relic of a bygone age. Whether you deserve, need, or are capable of controlling this power might not be important. You already have it. What you'll do and where it'll take you are the real questions. So we get some questions to start with that are not going to become tags. These are just to get the creative juices squirting inside your brain. So it asks, what does your relic look like? What kind of item is it? Was your relic a gift, an heirloom, or a chance discovery? How obvious is its magic and how far-reaching are its effects? And does it have a will of its own? Is it opinionated? Is it cursed? And let's say that we say it is cursed, but we don't have a curse-related tag in this theme. That means that the curse is not going to affect our rolls. The curse is still true in the fiction, because we have said it is a cursed ring. It's just not mechanically significant. It's narratively significant. So having a cursed ring, for example, might be enough to get you into a meeting with a wizard who specializes in curses because he wants to examine your ring. No roll required. But the curse is never going to actually... The curse might affect what you can do, how people treat you, but it's not going to affect your rolls. So you can have things that are narratively significant without being mechanically significant. The way you the way you use these theme books is they have a set of power tag questions, a set of weakness tag questions, and quest ideas. So of the power tag questions, the first one is bolded, and you should answer this one as this is the title of your theme. So I've been rereading the Chronicles of Thomas Covenant, the Unbeliever, this week. So I'm going to fill this out for his magic ring. So what powerful or mysterious item do you possess? It is a white gold wild magic ring. Then we pick 2 more questions from here. We can even pick the same question multiple times. And these are going to become our tags. So let's see, what is something about Thomas Covenant's white gold ring? When does your relic come to life? I think that fits. It is... So our next tag could be... triggered by nearby magic. Some better way of wording that. And what does your relic unlock or unleash? It activates dormant magic items. You know, there's a number of situations in the books where he touches something that is magic and dormant with his white gold ring, and it does the item activates. It does its thing. So there are three power tags. We have a white gold wild magic ring. It responds to nearby magical power and activates dormant magic items. As a weakness tag, what is the most troublesome shortcoming? Cannot consciously control. You know, he never is able to actually choose to use his ring. It's always involuntary. So that's a pretty significant weakness for a magical relic, really. I believe that would have impacts beyond the mechanics. That would definitely affect the narrative. Like if you have a magic ring where the weakness is that you can't consciously control it, you can't say, I'm going to use my ring to do this, because you can't do that. You can only use it involuntarily. And as quest ideas, so we've got 3, those being a task you must accomplish related to your relic, such as to keep it working, a vision or destiny the item pushes you towards or even requires you to fill, or a responsibility that comes with this item's power or a behavior it enables. Of course, you can always make up your own quest, and somewhere, I think we've probably scrolled past this, but somewhere there is a description of, a summary of what a good quest could be. Let's see if I can find that, actually. Maybe it comes later, actually. Oh no, here we go. Your quest should be clear. So here are 4 things that your quest could be. It could be your wish, something you long for or aspire to, your truth, a statement you believe in and want to uphold, your home, something you endeavor regularly to preserve, or your question, something you yearn to know above all. So it says quest, but it's not really a task you have to accomplish. It's just something which can drive your actions. So our quest for Thomas Covenant's magic ring, the quest could be, I must never come to rely upon its power. And then what that would mean is every time you resist using its power in a situation where it would have really helped, where you take consequences, where there are consequences you could have avoided had you drawn upon the power of the ring, you would gain experience on this theme. And every time you succumb to temptation and use the power of the ring, you would mark abandon on this theme, which is kind of like, it's a separate experience track towards like replacing a theme if your personality changes significantly. We'll get onto character advancements later when we start looking in the rules, but it's kind of interesting how it works. Then the theme book has some special improvements for when you like advance this. When you get enough XP in this theme, you can choose a special improvement or you can make one up. And then what each theme has is a set of theme kits. So you might like the idea of a relic, but you know, you're kind of a bit stuck on ideas. So you'd say, well, I quite like the idea of having an heirloom longsword. So then heirloom longsword is the title of it. You would pick 2 of the power tags. So maybe symbol of my lineage and slayer of fiends. You know, maybe you come from a family of demon slayers. You would pick 1 weakness tag. So Dark Legacy of my lineage, that fits, and it gives you a pre-made quest. With this 1 true sword, I will destroy the Lords of Maleficence. But of course, you can customize these however much you want. There's 3 final themes here, which it says they're variable might, so they could be kind of normal everyday things, adventurer tier things, or greatness tier things, depending on how you fill them out. So you can have a companion, magic. This is all you need to do magic, really. You just need a tag that says that you can do magic. You don't need to make a big deal out of it. And possessions, if you have something that's especially special. And then the final bit of individual character creation is what they call the general store. So, as I said earlier, we don't track like the contents of your inventory in this game. You're assumed to have whatever it makes sense for you to have. But if you want to have an item that affects your rolls, you need to have a tag for it, as it's only tags that affect your rolls. And so you're saying that I have this thing, this gambeson, and it is so significant to me that I can draw upon this and have it affect my rolls. And there's a big list of things that you could potentially have. And we don't use like we don't track money either. So there's a section like how do you handle money. So you could have like a tag that represents a valuable. So maybe you have a bag of gold or a precious gem, and the GM can give you a status, which again is kind of like a tag with a number associated with it, or like a more temporary tag. So you could have a status like hefty purse or short on coin, depending on how your adventures have been going. And then there's a bit about creating like your group of characters, which, to be honest, I didn't really read this because I'm going to be playing solo. I just like skimmed through it. But one thing I quite like is we have this little sidebar here on solo play. So if you play with 1 hero only, you don't have a fellowship. It's going to be difficult going alone. Consider starting with 3 tags in your backpack instead of 1, or creating a companion as a story theme. So a story theme is an additional theme beyond the 4 that you have. So in my campaign, I will be playing with a companion story theme. I've not figured out who that companion will be yet, but I think we will figure that out when we get started. Right, now we have the rules, which honestly, I think there's not that much to talk about. Here we've kind of covered a lot of it already. It's all very well explained. It's all very like clear. It goes into a lot of detail, give you lots of examples. There are essentially 3 ways you can resolve actions, which it covers here. So the simple way is the narrator just decides what happens. The quick way is you roll the dice, and the roll determines what happens. The detailed way is where you might need to, like say you're fighting an enemy and you don't want to resolve this with a single roll because it's a big dramatic fight. You want to have to get like a series of successful hits in before they can wear you down. Detailed resolution is essentially you make multiple rolls and you use your successes to inflict statuses upon the thing you're trying to overcome. And something that I quite like is this is a game with like mixed success with complications. and every time that comes up, it explains that mixed success is still a success. You still do the thing. It's just that the narrator can apply some additional complication to it. So, yeah, here we go. Success grants a narrative shield. So you do the thing. That cannot be undone by a consequence. It is bolded. It cannot normally be reversed without a consequence. So, like an enemy would have, and it is shielded from being reversed by consequences for at least the duration of a turn, if not longer. So, the example is if the hero caught the miller's son, but the action generated consequences. So, the miller's son is at the edge of a crumbling cliff, and the ground gives way and he starts to fall, and our hero dives forward to grab him, and you roll, and you get a mixed success. You have grabbed the miller's son. He has not fallen off the cliff. And the narrator can't say, you got a success with the complications. That means the miller's son, that means you grab his arm, but he slips out of your grasp and falls to his death. No, you've succeeded. But the narrator could say, and now you're like sprawled on the ground, leaning over this cliff, holding him, and you can't lift yourself up without help. You've saved him, but you're stuck there, and now someone needs to like help drag you back onto the top of the cliff. And I think it's really good that they spend basically a page explaining this, because it's a really common complaint about games with success with consequences, that success always feels punishing, because every roll feels punishing because you always generate complications, and you never feel as if you succeed. Like, no, you do succeed, you just have something bad happen as well. But yes, it just goes into a lot of details about consequences and what sort of things could happen. Lots of examples, so on and so forth. So detailed, amazing art. I love this giant bird thing. This is in the section about might and mighty creatures. So this is presumably a mighty creature that this guy is facing down. Yeah, just a lot of good detail there. Then we get on to character development, which I will go through a little bit. So there's essentially 3 ways that your character can level up, I guess. So on your themes, you have 3 XP tracks. They are called Improve, Abandon, and Milestone. So every time you or the narrator invokes a weakness tag in a roll, so every time a weakness hinders you, you mark Improve. Every time you make some achievement in a quest, like actually reach a new milestone if the quest is do a thing, or if the quest is to like something you believe, or something you've sworn never to do, a milestone could be like upholding that belief, upholding that vow in the face of like great temptation or opposition. And every time you turn your back on you mark a milestone, and every time you turn your back on a quest, you mark Abandon. And so when you mark your 3rd Improve on a theme, it is substantially changed. So you get to add a new power tag for it, so you can remove or add a weakness tag. You get a special improvement, so those are the things suggested earlier in the theme books. You get to reset, Abandon, or milestones, or both, if you think that the way you have changed your theme kind of affects how you think about your quest. And you can mark Promise, which is kind of like a character level XP rather than a theme level XP. Yes, we got something kind of what I said about quests here. What does it mean to try to uphold a quest? When you mark the 3rd milestone on a theme, so when you have made like 3 substantial steps towards fulfilling a quest, or you've resisted abandoning the quest in the face of great temptation 3 times, you evolve it. And this almost completely rewrites the theme. So you mark promise, so you get a point of this character level XP, but you change the title of the theme. You change the type or might of the theme. So if it was like a origin level theme, like here's an example, strong as an ox, and you improve that, you might upgrade that to an adventure level theme, which they've got here as a prodigious ability. Or here we've got an adventure level theme, a Sword of Thunder, which evolves into a greatness theme, Avenger of the Land, a destiny. But you don't need to go up, you can also go down. So here we have a greatness theme, you are a dragon, but that has become an origin theme, an angler who is content in the simple life. So maybe this dragon has chosen to like transform themselves into a human and give up their like draconic powers. So reaching your quest milestones is how you like substantially rewrite your character. And replacing a theme is kind of the opposite. It's when you mark your third abandon. So when you have like spurned a quest 3 times, you replace the theme. You get to mark promise again. So even when you have essentially failed, like when you've decided to do something and you have failed at doing that, even then you mark promise, so you get character level XP. You replace it with a new theme, but this new theme is very limited. You only get a title tag, a weakness tag, and a quest. So you are down 2 power tags compared to a normal theme. You have to get those by marking improve. And I guess what this models is that replacing a theme means that you've given up on something like very core to your identity, and that's kind of traumatizing. It takes a while to rebuild your sense of self once you've done that, which is why you need to earn these new power tags rather than just starting with them. And then finally we have promise, which is this character level XP I've been mentioning all the time. So you, in contrast to improve, milestone, and abandon, which is like you need 3 points to do the thing. For promise, you need 5, I think. Yes, when you have marked 5 promise, your hero has a moment of fulfillment. Your promise resets to 0, and you choose one of these things. So you can retire, you can totally rebuild your character, you can gain what they call a quintessence, which is like a special improvement. There's a list on the next page we'll look at in a moment. In fact, let's just look through these. So yes, you can arrive at your journey's end. You can retire. You can totally like rebuild yourself, like replacing all of your themes. As you are a completely new character mechanically, but you're the same person. So you've gone through some like identity shaking experience. You can gain one of these special improvements. So there's several, but I'll just read out the first one as an example. So you can take this beyond luck improvement, where you no longer automatically miss when you roll double ones. So normally, if you roll 2 ones on the d6s, you fail regardless of how much power you've added to the roll. And similarly, if you roll 2 6s, you automatically succeed. So this makes you immune to crit failures. You can shake the foundations of magic. And this is essentially discuss with the narrator what happens, but you gain some sort of new power that does not exist. You can cast some sort of powerful magic spell. There's this speak words eternal. You have this great moment of like clarity or mystical connection or something, and you speak like with the voice of prophecy and the force of gods, and do something that shakes the world. Yes, the last one is, or you can get a glimpse into some hidden truth. So these things are all quite rare. To get these, you need to mark 5 points of promise, and you get 1 point of promise every time you improve, abandon, or what was the other word? Improve, abandon, or evolve a theme. So your character's gone through a lot of change by the time you get to one of these like promise points. So I think it's probably unlikely you would have more than one, but I suppose you could in a long enough game. And we're getting close to the end of the player book, fear not. But we now have this entirely optional chapter on magic, which I think is great because this is just kind of an example of how you can change the system to do something else in more detail if that's what you want. So, like, the fundamental message in this chapter is that you don't need this chapter. It says this section describes how to use magic using the game standard rules, but magic can also go much further. So, like, if you want to do magic, you just need a tag that says you do magic. So, if you have the tag magical transportation, you can teleport. If you have the tag wind magic, you can do wind magic. If you have the tag witch, you can do things that it makes sense for a witch to do. But it kind of goes through like what that could look like. You could have a magic theme. If magic is a really core part of your identity, you can make it a whole theme. But that's kind of it. Like, there's no spell lists or mana or spell slots or spell components and so on. It's you can just do magic. But if you want some more complexity, it has 8 ways of magic that give you additional rules on how magic works in your settings. So let's just go through this first one, alchemy and herbalism, and we'll flip through the rest, but not really read them in detail. So, alchemy and herbalism. With naught but a mortar and pestle, one may unlock the most potent of essences. It says alchemy and herbalism are related arts that involve the finding, extracting, and combining of special properties present in natural and supernatural plants, organs, and materials, preparing them into wondrous concoctions that can treat wounds or render skin as hard as stone. Many villages and remote communities rely on these practices for their everyday needs, while masters of these arts can refine even the spirit itself. And it kind of has all of these aspects to it. So, collecting recipes. As magic is collected, you need to have recipes for things. If you have made a thing, you have a tag in your backpack. So if you have prepared a dose of healing poultice, you have healing poultice as a tag. It says magic requires preparation. So, like, you can't just snap your fingers and heal someone. You have to spend time in a safe environment. It says, for example, while camping or sojourning. So while having essentially a break, whether that be short or long, and you have to spend an action in that time preparing your magic concoction. A stock of ingredients. Says magic is in short supplies. Alchemists and herbalists must carry ingredients with them, which is a status. It says this is reduced by 1 as a consequence to any concocting action. So whenever you make a thing, you lose 1 point of ingredients. And you need to take action to gather new ingredients. It also says that some things might need special ingredients that are not kind of covered by this generic ingredients status. So maybe you need the hair of a Nixie, and you might need to go on a quest to find a Nixie and pluck their hair, I suppose. These concoctions are consumable, so magic is spent when it's used. You can just use a concoction whenever you want, but the tag is then gone. And there's a variant here of, if you want to go into a bit more depth with ingredients, like maybe you give ingredients specific properties and you want to have some stuff around like experimenting with specific ingredient combinations to see what happens. But this is like an optional extra complexity in this already optional extra complexity. If you really want to go into alchemy and herbalism, you can do this. So this is all like optional. It's just if you want to have more crunch in your magic, you can do it. And there's 7 more of these. We also have some theme kits with it as well. So if being an alchemist is a core part of your identity, maybe you are a expert poisoner. Then we have Fey patronage. The whimsical fair folk boon mercurial magic as quickly as they take it away. Bask in their fleeting wonder while it lasts. We have land shaping. Feel the land, its roots, its air, and its water. It is yours. it is you. It's kind of like earth magic. We have Runic Invocation. Ancient glyphs and words of power call forth forces unseen, unleashing their power upon the mortal realm. So you learn magical runes and you combine them to create effects. Shapeshifting. One's form is a brittle illusion that can be molded or shed to reveal true power at the risk of losing one's mind. And this has a penalty. Magic carries a price. All shapeshifters are in danger of losing control over themselves when they're transformed. For this reason, shapeshifters are feared even by their closest friends. And there's like a whole status mechanic for like tracking how close you are to losing yourself to the animal instincts. There's sorcery. Wreathed in the surging threads of the shrouded fabric of our world, a sorcerer may make true their wildest dreams with but a word. And this, I guess, is kind of your like your more like traditional like RPG style or D&D style magic, I guess, because it says magic is spent when used. So you have to like prepare spells, and once you've used a spell, it's gone. You need to like prepare it again. There's spirit binding. Our world is shaped by presences beyond sight, some gracious and some malevolent. Learn to master them, and you shall master all things. And finally, we have witchcraft. Hunter's moon of blood-like fashion, hearken ye our incantation. Past the veil we wish to gander, for a soul to tear asunder. Which is very... this is a very different magic system to the others. This is all based around rituals that can be very slow to perform, but have powerful effects. And these 8 systems of magic are all... so like below each heading, we've got these like little descriptions, like magic requires extra effort, magic can be empowered, ritual as flavor, ritual as a journey, magic requires gathering power. These are expanded upon further in the GM section. It's like, so you want to have a sort of magic system where people have to work to gather their power. Here's how you can design that sort of thing. So here we have like pre-made magic systems, but in the GM book we have information on how to make your own magic system. And then we've got appendices. It's all pretty standard stuff. We do have an example of play if you want to like read a full session, and it's got all the tags and things highlighted, which is quite nice. We have this like commentary in the sidebar explaining like what's going on in the prose, yeah, then after that we've got like character sheets and stuff. But that's basically it for the player book. So next we have the GM book. It's got the same like wonderful end papers as the player book here. And the same table of contents. I think it's exactly the same table of contents. Let's just double check that. Yeah, it's exactly the same art for the table of contents. I thought it would have been like a nice Easter egg if it was almost the same, but not quite. If there's like a slight difference. But anyway, so we have the GM book here. It's very good. So it starts with like the standard GM advice on how to like set up a campaign, what the components of an adventure are, stakes, locations, challenges, how to do a session. We've got a cheat sheet here, pretty standard high-level GM advice. And then it goes into detail, and the detail is really good. So, narrating a session. This is a whole section on how to run a session, like how to describe things, how you should think about tags, how you should bring up challenges, stakes, threats, how you should telegraph things. It's got examples. It's got all these like little snippets in the sidebar. Just little snippets of advice. It's it goes into, let's see, like creating story tags, which is kind of an interesting thing in this system that you might not really need to think about in other games. it's got this like cool little table for what if the players and the challenge are at different mightiness levels. Like what like the players are all mightier than the challenge or something. Or how do you like easily resolve that? It talks about what it calls threats, which is basically just telegraphing danger. And this is an entirely player-facing system. The players make all the rolls. So the way that enemies act is that the narrator describes like some foreshadowing. Like here we got some examples. Like the pirate swoops down a rope, her cutlass flashing as she prepares to gut you. And then the players respond, and if they don't do something which avoids the foreshadowing, the narrator applies the relevant consequence. So that's kind of a key principle in this game. You should always telegraph things. And because of that, we have a little section here on, well, what about the things that you can't really telegraph immediately, like traps or ambushes, stuff like that. And I think it explains this quite well. It says, sometimes making an explicit threat ruins the surprise or doesn't quite make sense because the hero may not yet be able to perceive the challenge. Other times, you want to reward the hero's alertness rather than feed them the threat with a silver spoon. So yes, this is obviously a difficulty when running a game. How do you like reward the players being smart without it just feeling like you're punishing them if they didn't do the smart thing? And says here you can make threats that are intentionally vague, so you still have some foreshadowing, but you make it. You can fit it like into the story of the region, or like stories they might have heard, like rumors, or even just like the nature of the environment. So if you're delving into a dungeon, the players entering the dungeon is like foreshadowing that there may be traps, right? You don't need to tell them when they enter a room, you feel there could be traps here. Like they've entered a dungeon that's known for having traps in, so that's fair game. You have made the threat, you've done the foreshadowing. Other examples are, there are legends of treasure in this place, and yet no one has ever returned from here. So that would be like a dungeon. She gives you a wide smile, and yet her eyes narrow. So foreshadowing betrayal. And even though the sun has just set, you hear the hooting of the rustwood owls echoing all around you. Foreshadowing an ambush. We have a great description of action resolution, because there's 3 ways you can do it, which we also touched on in the player's book. You could just decide what happens if it's kind of obvious, or if it's not dramatic enough, as they say, kind of narrative thing. You can just make a single roll, so just roll 2d6. The player adds and subtracts relevant tags, and you see what it says. Or you can have the detailed resolution, which is generally what you would do if the player's trying to overcome a challenge that's a big thing, like the focus of a scene, like fighting a battle or something, where you might say multiple rolls, and you need to have like multiple rounds of the players trying to inflict consequences upon the enemy, and the enemy trying to inflict consequences upon the players. And it like walks you through how to do this, how to think about consequences, how to choose consequences. It's just all very good, and we have all of these nice sidebars, and I like this one. Well, I keep saying I like this one, but I like lots of stuff in this book. But this one is that like time passing can be a consequence. It's only a consequence if there's actually like a time limit on something. You can't just say, oh, you waste some time, if that doesn't matter. If they have all the time in the world, it doesn't matter if they waste some time. But if they need to do something by sunset or whatever, time passes can be a pretty good consequence. And in fact, time passes is the main consequence, is the main threat in the tutorial adventure, because we have a limited time to do something. Examples of treasures, that's nice. And treasures don't need to be items. Treasures could be the favor of a lord. These are story themes, so they have like a type. So we have like Relic, Staff of the Harbinger. It is an adventure level theme because Relic, that is what Relic is. Relic is an adventure level theme book. It has these tags: protect my voice, trusted warnings, and the weakness is too loud. So if you want to give your players a magic item or something, you can just do that. give them this story tag, story theme rather. Companions. So our character in the campaign we're going to play is going to have a companion. So there'll be something like this. Probably not a befriended dragon, although it would be cool to start the campaign with a befriended dragon. And then we get into adventure and campaign design. So the adventure design stuff, it's all good. It covers like different sorts of adventures, different sorts of scenes, how to link scenes together, why the player should care, how to link adventures together. There's a whole example adventure like here that explains the process. We've got like this adventure outline, it's like flowchart style outline on the right, and then on the left we've got like the thinking that the GM went through. So narrator Rhea is working on a new adventure. Choose to begin with the gameplay style of the adventure. The sellswords see their fair share of battles and tracking down monsters, which is the players. So this time she wants to challenge them with some social intrigue, creative problem solving, and perhaps a short heist. So you could like run this adventure as it is. You know, you need to flesh out the scenes when they happen. Each box here is a scene in the adventure. You could run this as written. You can also read the thought process to understand like how they came up with this. But what I most like in this is the section on campaign design. So it talks about 2 ways to design a campaign, which it calls a series: the mountain and the crossroads. So the mountain is actually, I think this is a thing with these publishers. I believe for City of Mist they talk about the iceberg as a method of campaign design. I think they have another system as well, like Otherscape or something. I think that's by them. I'm not sure what metaphor they use in that, but I'm sure they must have one. But anyway, the mountain is your typical fantasy campaign where the heroes start out, you know, relatively weak and normal. They encounter some like low-level local threats, which forces them to leave their home environment, face larger challenges as they grow in power, and ultimately facing the big bad after overcoming all of his lieutenants or agents, as it is called here. And it's super stereotypical, but that's fun, right? It's what I'll be using in my campaign, and what I like about this is that it's really well explained, and they also go into how, you know, it doesn't need to be an actual like evil demon god with his 3 lieutenants who are all, you know, bad people or whatever. It's not quite, you know, Frodo versus Sauron, Rand versus the Dark One or whatever as it sounds. You know, the great danger at the top. It doesn't necessarily need to be a person. It can just be anything, really. So let's see, it says this is often a person, creature, or being, like a fell sorcerer, a demonic goddess, or the king of evil dragons, but it may also be something else, like a magical or natural phenomenon, or a group of people, such as an aggressive nation of conquerors. What matters is that it's the driving force behind the campaign. It's something too big, something far too big for the players to face as they are when they begin, but it doesn't need to be a single guy. Similarly, the agents don't need to be like lieutenants or sub-bosses or whatever. They can be anything, really. It's just something that blocks the heroes from walking straight up to the great danger. So we've got examples on like what agents could be, or how agents could prevent accessing the great danger. So the agent could just be a physical barrier. It could be an impassable fiery wasteland, an unbreakable magic shield, or an unbeatable army. Now, an unbeatable army is kind of like a guy. It's many guys. But an impassable fiery wasteland isn't a guy. That's an environmental challenge that the players need to overcome. So maybe our bad guy lives inside some sort of horrible flaming wasteland, and just getting to the bad guy is really hard. So yeah, just like how to create these things, how to think about adventures, and we have an example mountain here. So here we have the Ash Mother, a massive ancient fire spirit that once slumbered beneath Mount Volan, and she was accidentally awakened by miners. So, you know, kind of like a Balrog situation. And we've got we've got a village priest who, for the agents, we've got a village priest. We have a dragon. We have a flaming holy site that was once like a druid place. We've got like local places and local places and peoples kind of at the base of our mountain as the first challenges we do encounter. And it goes through like, how do we break this into adventures? How do we design, how do we gradually reveal the overarching plot and the great danger to the characters, who will typically start out not knowing what the threat is. So kind of goes for a 3-act structure. The opening where we kind of introduce the heroes. They encounter some inciting incident. And in dealing with this, they kind of learn more and they face more kind of similar challenges until they eventually defeat the immediate danger and have to leave home to go and face the greater threat. Act 2 is where they're kind of growing both like powerfully in power and as people. They're learning new things. They are gaining confidence. They're becoming capable to face these threats. And then the ending of Act 2 is the revelation of the great danger. So in Act 1 they'll be encountering like local threats and problems. In Act 2 they'll discover, it's not just our village that's having problems. Like this other place is having problems as well, and this other place too, and what's going on? And eventually they'll discover, there's actually a demon god behind this. And then Act 3 is facing the great danger. We'd have revelations like the great danger is very close to success, and we have limited time. There's not much hope, that sort of thing. And the ending of Act 3 would be overcoming the great danger. So yeah, because of how to do this, there's some guidance on how to do this solo, which is quite nice. So this uses the adventure oracles in the back of the GM book, which we'll be getting onto in a little bit. Then we have the Crossroads, which is it says this is like the more modern take on things, which I guess it is, because I think big bads have fallen out of fashion a little bit. But this is essentially where we have a lot of different threats. It calls them fronts, which is a term established. I want to say it was established in Dungeon World, but it might have actually been established in Apocalypse World. But essentially, a front is a big threat. So it could be like an evil faction, or the metaphor is obviously an encroaching weather front, something which is moving towards us and is bad. So you've got these like multiple overlapping threats. They are possibly independent, so you could have like multiple factions which all have their own goals, all of which are kind of bad if taken to their extreme. And the metaphor of the crossroads is your players are like at the crossroads, and they're just being approached by all these things. It doesn't really go into as much detail about crossroad campaigns as it does mountain campaigns, I guess because they're kind of conceptually simpler. But it does give a bunch of example fronts and explains reasonably well how to run this sort of game. And let's see. The last thing we've got really in adventure design, campaign design, is this thing called the Secret Grace, which is super. This is definitely super narrative. If you favor like a more simulationist approach, or if you prefer like the GM to be more of an impartial referee, this is something you'd want to not do. But the idea is you keep track of when the players do something special, something where they act like a true hero. And it gives some examples of like truly special moments. So, for example, if a character is a heroic knight who regularly performs selfless acts for glory, helping someone might not count really, because he's expected to help someone. He looks good by helping people. But laying down their arms when they could win glory might be, if they're strongly motivated by glory. If they pass upon opportunities to look good in order to help someone, maybe that counts as this like special moments. It just says you'll know these moments when you see them. And so for each hero, which is a character, you track like how many of these moments of grace happen secretly. You never tell the players about this. And then you can kind of bring this in to give them like a special bonus. So this kind of represents like the cosmic karma of the heroes, right? They do good things, and so good things happen to them when they need it the most. I mean, yeah, that's basically the rules on how to, oh, not rules really, just the guidance on how to run the game. So we have a whole section here on magic, which again is totally optional, but this is just like, how do I make a magic system? I'm not really going to go through this in detail because we've looked at a magic system earlier, and it just like expands upon like what all those little sections mean, like magic is collected or magic is in short supply and so on. It's like, how do you combine these things to make your own magic system? Yes, and we have these ideas of ways of magic, which is quite nice. So we've got 8 fully fleshed out magic systems in the player's book, and we've got 9 kind of outlines here that you could use as the basis of your own thing. We have a section here on how you can fit magic into challenges, and so for each of these things, like let's say magic can be weakened, you can use the tag that weakens the challenge's magic as a positive tag when the heroes are trying to lessen the effects of the challenge's magic. Or if the heroes are trying to do something, magic couldn't be weakened would affect the hero's magic. So yes, lots of cool magic stuff and good guidance. Most of the GM book actually is in this chapter, the Satchel of Perils. So this isn't a game that needs a bestiary, but this is kind of the equivalent. So it starts with how to design challenges. Giving, like we saw with the player's character sheets, and kind of explaining that, we start with like a description of a challenge and explaining all the parts. And as you might expect, the book has really good guidance on how to design challenges. But most of this chapter is just a huge list of sample challenges that you can just like plug into your game. And they're grouped into categories like homestead and villages. There could be an avoided acquaintance. This is a person who used to be close to one or more of the heroes, a past friend, lover, family member, or moneylender, until something happened that broke the relationship and wounded their pride. Unfortunately, they're not over it. An avoided acquaintance seems to pop up when it's the least comfortable and makes things awkward for the hero simply by being around. They can be avoided, but this only postpones the inevitable. So like a challenge needs to be something you can fight. It can just be anything, really. So this avoided acquaintance, they could show up and just like appear and fill the hero's heart with guilt, or like bring up past issues. But there's a huge number of these challenges. We've got these what they call journeys, which are essentially a journey is like a series of vignettes that you play out. So if you're at a harvest festival, you could have like these things happen. So like one character might encounter a worried farmer who is carrying only the palest, most wilted of produce in her cart, and there's some concern that maybe there is a blight upon the crops. Someone could be in a farmer's market, and there are many stalls there with many tempting wares, and maybe you start to get hungry, or you're short on coin because you spend too much. And so on. So we just have loads of these. And after we get through them, we have a sample adventure. This is a whole actual adventure that you could run yourself. It's not just like an outline, like we saw early in the adventure design section, and it's not like a tutorial comic like in the beginning of the playbook. It's an actual whole adventure with some kind of backstory you could plug into a larger setting. And it kind of walks you through how to run this adventure. There's a little bit about playing it solo here. which essentially just tells you not to read the spoilers. But the spoilers are just the backstory, really. If you're running a solo game, you are going to spoil yourself a lot. That's just kind of how it works. But yeah, it's good. So it kind of it has a few of the different sorts of challenges that we've just seen earlier in the chapter. We've got a journey challenge here, for example. We have like a custom monster. And in the appendix, the very first thing in the appendix is a big list of adventure ideas for the 4 different frames of play. And then finally, we have the Oracle, which is the tool for solo play. So it starts as some explanation about how to play solo. Like be guided by creativity. You're not limited by the outcome of the Oracle. You can just make stuff up or go with what makes the most sense. Explains there's no right or wrong way to play solo. You could keep a journal or not. And then it's so there's no new rules here. The system just works solo, which I do quite like, because a minor point of complaint that I had with the One Ring solo rules, the Moria solo rules specifically, is that they changed big chunks of the core system. So you could tell that the One Ring wasn't really designed for solo play, like it wasn't in mind from the beginning, and they just like tacked on some solo rules because that's what people wanted. But this whole game works without any changes. Like you lose the ability to have like a separate person running the game who can surprise you. You semi-gain that back with the oracles that we'll look through in a moment. But there's never as much surprise in a solo game. But the rules, they all stay the same. Okay, I lied very slightly. There is one difference in solo play in this system. Way back in character creation, it suggests bringing a companion with you. That's it. That's the only change you make for solo play. So yes, we've got this like procedure how to play solo. So we already have a series challenge for our campaign. We'll get into that in a bit. So we're not going to roll this up, and our character won't know about the challenge, but we know out of game. We can roll up adventures on oracles. We can roll up scenes on oracles. We kind of play through things as we would with a GM and a player. And really, the only difference to normal play is that rather than a GM deciding between sessions what happens next, we roll on an oracle table to decide what happens next. So the oracle tables, there are a few of these. So first we start with what they call the question oracles. So I'm going to start with the one on the right and then move to the one on the left, because I feel these are in the wrong order. I see why they're in this order. It's because of the layout, but anyway. So we have the question oracle, where you just roll 2d6 and add the relevant power tags. So this is exactly the same as you would resolve a check in the game. You just use the same mechanics to answer a yes or no question. And the results are extreme no if you rolled 2 1s, 6 or less is no, 7 to 9 is complicated, 10 or more is yes, and double sixes are extreme yes. We've got some example questions that you could ask, and like what the different interpretations would be. So let's say you're asking, are there bandits currently in these woods? And your overall modifier is a +2 because you have, a +1 because you have 2 positive tags, suspicious activity and good hiding place, and 1 negative tag, which is regular army patrols. So that's, +2, -1, it's +1 overall. The different interpretations could be, if you roll double ones, that is an extreme no. So that could mean that there are no bandits there. In fact, bandits have been eradicated in this region decades ago. A 6 or less is just a regular no, so there are no bandits. A 7 to 9 is it's complicated. So that could mean there are bandits here, but they focus on the east part of the woods. Or no, there aren't bandits here, but there are rumors that bandits in the neighboring region are expanding. A 10 or more is just a normal yes. So yes, bandits raid these woods regularly, and double sixes is an extreme yes. Yes, and they're here right now. So you ask, are there bandits? You roll double sixes, and we proceed straight into like an ambush. encounter. But yes or no questions can only take you so far. We also have this interpretive oracle table where we roll a d66, that is, 2 d6s where you read one as the tens and one as the units, and we get this kind of symbolic meaning. So if we rolled, say, a 32, the scythe, which we can interpret as reaping what you have sown, sudden death or loss, harvest season, a dangerous situation, or really anything that a scythe brings to mind. We have a slightly different interpretive questions oracle where we can roll up an attitude, magical being, terrain feature, or everyday item. So if we want to know like how we meet someone and we want to know how they're feeling, we could roll for their attitude if the situation doesn't make it apparent. We have a conflict oracle for generating challenges. So you would roll on this multiple times and read the columns to try to figure out what's going on. And of course, you can just like stop rolling and make it up at any point if it becomes apparent. But let's say that we roll 22. We get an animal or beast. Then we might roll a 43. Is spying on, searching for, inquiring, or researching? Probably spying on if it's an animal or beast. And we get 25, a quest-related ideal or goal. So we need to then look at our quest to work out what that could mean, but there is some sort of animal which is watching, something related to one of our quests, and that's a potential problem for us. And we can keep rolling. So we have another table that has locations, how the challenge unfolds, what a secondary challenge is, and story tags that could be relevant. That big list of challenges that we looked at earlier, we've got roll tables for those as well. So we could, if we know that we're in a homestead or village, we could roll to see what sort of challenge we have in homestead or village. We've got a procedure here for building new challenges. If you need something that's it's not in the book, you just want to whip something up quickly. And the example here is a beaverkin defender. And a beaverkin is a kind of beaver person, which I guess they're like a race in the setting book that has not been published yet. So I don't really know anything about beaverkin beyond this little challenge here. We have an oracle table for what different challenges might do. So let's say that a challenge is a pursuer, so they're moving with they're trying to catch our characters. We've got little dice icons here, and if we don't know what they're going to do, we could just roll a d6, and let's say we get a 1, so they're going to give chase. So the foreshadowing we should give here, the threat is that they move with haste towards the quarry. So let's say it's a guard trying to let's say we have been caught trying to pick a lock and a guard is chasing us down. So if we rolled a 1 here, it would say the guard starts moving toward, the guard spots us and starts running towards us. We'd need to try to resist this in some way with a roll, and if we fail, the guard gets closer to us and we would get a status. Catch or track, probably catch in the situation if it's a guard chasing us down. So, if we don't know what to do, we can always roll to decide. We have another oracle. So this is an oracle for what challenges might do. This is an oracle for what sort of consequences we might have. If we just fail a roll and it's not related to a challenge where it's obvious what could happen, we can roll on this. This is actually a kind of D666 table because it's a D66 to determine the type of consequence and a D6 to determine the specific consequence. And yes, the final one is a Revelations oracle for if we're running a mountain-style campaign. Let's say that we think we're, about at the end of Act 1, we want to roll up a revelation to see, like, how do we actually move into Act 2? What is the thing that we learn that kind of triggers us leaving home and going into the wider world to defeat this issue? And we might roll like a 32. The heroes are unequipped to deal with this danger. So we realize there's bad stuff going on. We can't solve it. No one else around can solve it. We need to go somewhere else to get help. And that's how we move into Act 2 of our mountain campaign. And that's it. That's Legend in the Mist. It is a really cool system that's not very complicated but has a huge amount of guidance in the book. And next, we're going to jump into playing. But I have been talking for an hour and 42 minutes straight, so I am going to have a short break to stretch my legs and drink some water. So I'll be back shortly. Okay, let's start a game of Legend in the Mist. How is everyone, by the way? I see there's 4 people watching. You don't have to be so silent. You can say things in chat if you want. Right, let's see. Oh, I scared someone off by asking how everyone is. Hey, nice to see you. Right. Okay. So I have a character sheet here. Well, I feel character sheet is the wrong word, really. It's a collection of these like character strips that you write. I'm not sure what a physical character sheet for this game would look like. Because the one in the book is just these like thin hero card and theme cards and stuff. But yes, I have a character sheet here, and before we get into this character, let's just introduce what our campaign is going to be like. So it's going to be the like epic journey mountain style campaign. So you know, this style where we start out very unaware of the overarching threat, and we learn there is some great danger which must be faced. It's going to be a super stereotypical village boy has to leave home and gets pulled by the strings of destiny story. So for inspirations, I'm taking inspiration from a few different fantasy books and RPG settings. The Wheel of Time is probably the most obvious, although I'm not really expecting like player character magic. I'm thinking like Studio Ghibli and Earthsea for the like rustic fantasy aspects, and a bit of Dolmenwood as well. Although I think Dolmenwood itself may not exist in this world, but some of the things in there are pretty neat, and I expect I will draw upon. So last week, we rolled up our bad guy by playing Lichdom, which is a journaling game about being an evil sorcerer trying to become a lich. I've not fleshed out any like themes or tags or anything for our bad guy. We've just got our hero. We'll do that when he shows up, I suppose. But who we have is Abact, a sorcerer of the White City, which was the capital of a glorious empire surrounded by barbarians. The empire ruled the known world, or at least that's how they kind of described it. And he had a plan, which was that a human body can't last forever. It will eventually rot away. So it's not a suitable place to keep a soul long term. So what he wanted to do was to move his soul into the ancient woodlands of the realm and kind of be sustained by like the collective organism of the forest. But he didn't want to be trapped inside a tree for all of time. So simultaneously, he wants to split his consciousness into a collection of gems, which could be carried around by agents, so you can still rove around the world and do things. But he wasn't ready when he performed his ritual. He had angered too many people. He'd become too unpopular. His researchers had turned too many turned like the common folk against him, and so there was an angry mob marching on his tower, and he was like, "It's now. I have to do it now, or I'll be like, beaten to death by this horde." So he performed the ritual, and it did work. He did tear his soul from his body and transplanted it into the woodlands and split his consciousness into gems, but he lost his mind in the process. It drove him mad. So he is now Abact the Mad. Our game is taking place 1,000 years later. So Abact the Mad begins to stir once again and reach out and touch the world. I don't really know why it's been so long. I like the sound of things happening 1,000 years ago. It sounds very fantasy for things to be that long ago. As for the like in-universe reason why Abact the Mad is only just now doing something after 1,000 years, don't know. Maybe some ancient hero sealed him away and the seals are beginning to weaken with age. Maybe someone broke the seals. Maybe it just took him this long to kind of recover from the failed Lichdom ritual. Maybe we'll find out as we play. Maybe we won't. And no one really remembers the old empire anymore. Like, scholars remember it, but like the common people don't. Like there might be some myths, some legends of an ancient golden age, but that's it really. And Abak's name is only found in the oldest and most obscure of histories. So I think we probably will learn his name at some point as a dramatic revelation in the story, but people aren't going to be like, oh, it's Abax the Mad again. And the world today, I think, is a fairly low magic world. There are magic creatures in the woods, but not many people can do magic. In rural places, there might be a witch who lives in the forest, but much of what she does might just be, knowing the medicinal properties of herbs rather than actual magic per se. A town or a market might have a fortune teller stall. Can they actually see the future, or are they just doing cold reading? Who knows? I think there are sorcerers in like the capital city, like other like major places like that. But while they do have some power, they're more academics than spellcasters. So I don't know why magic is less common now than it was back in Abak's day. Again, maybe we'll find out. Maybe we won't. And I think I'm going to take an idea from Ars Magica, which is that people with the ability to perform magic have something like supernaturally off-putting about them. Like, normal people find magic users creepy. I think the religion here is I want to go for like kind of Catholic-esque church with like a huge variety of local saints, as I think that's very fun. If you can go to like a village on the other side of the mountain and they have like a totally different patron saint of butchers or whatever, and they're like, you pray to Saint what's his name? Never heard of him. I'm not sure whether there's a Pope equivalent, and it doesn't really matter. But that's it for setting, really. That's all I've got. So I'll introduce you to my character, and we can get playing. So I should also say that I'm going to be using the Nomicon for rolling up names of people and places and things. This is a fantastic resource by Matt Finch, the same person who wrote the Tome of Adventure Design and Tome of World Building. This is his Tome of Naming, I suppose. So our character is Dynak. He is a teenage boy. I imagine him being like 17, 18, something like that. And he is a peddler's son. So his dad, who I just realized we don't have a name for. Let's roll up a name for his dad. Let's go to the Bretonnian names. That's what I used for Dynak. And let's see, Dynak's dad. Let's see, those are name endings. Where's name beginnings? Here we go. $63 and $9. So that could be probably not die. We've already got a Dynak. Let's go for O. Ober. Let's have a place for notes. Let's put notes over here. Okay, so we have Dynak, who is the son of Ober, who is a peddler. And our tags on this are that he is attentive. I think he watches his father. I think he like travels with his father on his work and like watches very closely to learn the trade. And I think not just a peddler, maybe also a bit of a tinker. And so Dynak can repair simple things as his second power tag on this. And when I say simple, I mean simple. Like he can put a handle back on a pan if it has been lost. He definitely can't do anything that requires like training or expertise. His weakness tag here is that he is unworldly. And I've put that as the weakness because I think he believes himself to be quite worldly. And he is wrong about that. Because he travels with his father, whose name I have already forgotten, Ober. Yes, Ober. He travels with his father Oba, like around the other villages in the region, and maybe to like the nearby town, like once or twice a year. And so he probably is like the most worldly youth in the village, and maybe even more worldly than some of the adults. But he's still, still a very rural, inexperienced guy, and so he has kind of misplaced confidence in his worldliness, which is why this is a weakness. And his quest here is, I'll get out of this dead end village and become a hotshot merchant. And I'm like 99% sure we are going to abandon this theme because we are not going to do this. This is what Dynak wants, but it's not really what I want to do in the game. So we'll probably be forsaking opportunities to do this and be marking abandon, which will lead to us throwing out this Peddler's Son theme, and Dynak will have to forge a new identity for himself. So that's, I guess, just kind of reinforcing that, abandoning a theme is not a failure point in this system. It does weaken you temporarily, as you end up with a theme that has not many tags, but it's still character development. It's still something worth having. His next theme is a personality, so he has a heart of gold. He, with the power tags, help the needy and always look on the bright side. But the weakness here is that he is vulnerable to a sob story. And his quest is that everyone has some good in them, they just sometimes have to make hard choices. So this quest, like a milestone in this quest could be something like forgiving someone for some serious transgression. Like, say someone like robs Dynak and like he loses something valuable to him, like something of like personal significance, and he like forgives the person for this. That could be this. Or like arguing in someone's defense when they have clearly done something wrong. Abandoning this quest would be like not giving someone the benefit of the doubt. Theme 3 is a trait. He is tenacious. He has a quick recovery when things aren't going his way, and he advances despite opposition. The weakness is that he can't ask for help. He feels he can do everything himself, or at least he feels unable to ask for help if he's not done everything he can to do it by himself. And the quest is to never give up, never surrender. And our fourth tag is, I wasn't really sure what to have for this one. I felt, if we look at the other three tags, Dynak doesn't really have any, like, adventuring ability. So we need something that makes him more of a protagonist. And at first I was thinking, do I give him, like, some skill with a weapon? But then I thought, I want to go for a super stereotypical Destiny, Save the World, Chosen One style campaign. So I'm going to give him a greatness tag, a theme rather, at the beginning. His destiny is to defeat the Lich. He doesn't know about this destiny. He will maybe discover it on his journey. Well, he will hopefully discover it on his journey. And I thought quite a bit about the power tags on this. So the first one is Fated Confrontation. And I think the way this is going to come into play is if Dynak is in a situation where it seems that if it goes wrong, he'll be unable to defeat the Lich. If he'll be unable to get to the confrontation with the Lich, then this will come in and help him. So let's say that he is being attacked by bandits and someone comes at him with a sword. If Dynak dies here, he can't make it to his fated confrontation. So this tag will help him evade this threat. It's not like a get out of jail free card. I think he'll still face hardship, face consequences, but he won't be killed. Other bad stuff might happen to him though. He's also got this sense wrongness tag. So I think if he encounters something that is like a creature that has been warped by the Lich or something, it will feel wrong to him in a way, and he can use this to determine this three-eyed cow is wrong in the same way as this, I don't know, wilted tree. There's some common wrongness behind them both because he can sense the wrongness. His weakness here is that he's just a village boy. So he has this grand destiny, but he is woefully unprepared to meet it. And his quest is that I will defeat the evil force plaguing the land, the spectre of Amact the Mad. There's going to be another theme here for a companion. I don't know who this companion is. I think we're going to meet them when we get started. And for a backpack tag, I gave him a pocket knife because I felt he needed something that could possibly help if he gets into a fight. Can't just rely on his grand destiny all the time. So, like if someone is trying to kill him or whatever, he can at least try to defend himself. And there's all sorts of situations where a pocket knife is useful, actually, not just, life or death situations. But that is our guy. That is Dynak. And I think we want to begin with something not really related to the main quest. I think we want to see a bit about the normal life of Dynak. I had a bit of a think about like what sort of things he might be up to normally, and then we can see like how things change for the worse later on. So I think we're going to open at, either at or arriving at a market. He has gone with his father Oba to a market in like the big town in the region. I don't have a name for the town. It doesn't really matter. But it's like he goes to this town with his father like once or twice a year, probably twice a year. And it's an amazing thing to Dynak. There's so many people from all the other villages around here and villages even further away. There's some people even from the big city, which like the town is already crazy big to Dynak. So like how big could a city be? Of course, these are all very small locations, but this village boy, it's amazing. So I want to start by rolling on the Interpret Your Questions Oracle. I want to know like what's the vibe of like what's going on at this market, like what sort of market is it, and what's the vibe. So I guess maybe for a vibe I'll roll on the attitude table. I don't know, I'll start by rolling for a symbol and see what I get. 11, the peasant. Hard work, yearning for more, cycles and repetition, an innocent bystander. Okay, maybe it's like a farmer's market. So it's maybe like autumn, and the harvest has come in, and there's a big farmer's market happening at the town. Like people have come in from all around to sell like excess produce. There's probably people selling like tools. There might be some livestock available, and as a peddler, Oba is there to. I'm sure he has wares to peddle. He's probably selling like some farming implements, or I don't know, maybe since it's autumn, winter's starting to approach, maybe he's selling like warm clothes and things, trying to like attract custom by saying to the farmers like your wife will love this scarf, it'll keep her warm when there's those cold winter drafts. And I want to know what the vibe of the market is. So we're starting on a normal scene, so it's probably fairly cheerful, fairly good, but don't know. 53, restless. Okay. Why might it be restless? Maybe Dynak is the restless one, because he comes here so rarely and there's so many people, and he has to like help his dad out at the stall, but he just wants to get out there and explore and see what's going on. And so he's maybe a bit distracted. His dad has to like occasionally like, Dynak, pay attention, when there's like a customer like waiting at the stall. Because he wants to be a great merchant, but he's also just a kid, and this is an overwhelming and exciting occurrence. So let's just let's make our first roll of the game. I want to see like how good a job he does like, helping out his dad at the stall. I think his dad is doing most of the work, but he has like a little table set up with some things on of like maybe lesser value or that are kind of easier to extol the virtues of, like very concrete things like tools that he's like entrusted to Dynak, and so he's like occasionally glancing over to see how Dynak is doing, but Dynak is basically running the thing himself. He's like talking to farmers that come up and stuff. So let's just see how well he does. So I think Peddler's Son and Attentive are going to apply here, and probably nothing else. Yeah, I think they're going to apply. So it's going to be 2d6 plus 2, and yeah, this roll is just to determine like how good a job he does. Like running his like little side stall next to his dad. So if it goes badly wrong, like if he fails, it's not going to have like a major consequence. Maybe he just like doesn't make as much as he kind of hoped. But I just want to make a roll. That is a 7, 8, 9, which is a partial, not a partial success. It's a success with consequences. So I think he does. Like nothing goes wrong. I think with running the stall. I think everything is fine. But the problem is that he maybe he just doesn't do as much business as he'd hoped. Like he had an agreement with his dad where he could keep like a certain amount of the profits from this little side stall he's running, and like the customers today, they're mostly looking for like low price things, like simple things. So he doesn't get as much money as he hoped for. So he's going to get a tag low on coin, which is you know, if you want to buy something, that's going to be a slight hindrance. But the day generally goes fine. And at the end of it, his dad's like, "Well, Dynak, you did a good job, but seems that the fish just weren't biting today." He's like, "Yeah, I know, Dad." Like, "Was there anything I did wrong?" Like, no, son. It's just sometimes you're a bit unlucky like that. And I think this market is like a multi-day affair. So he's like, better luck tomorrow, son. And like I think he knows Dan Extreme. He's like, you'll be a big merchant one of these days. And so I think they're like staying in. They've like got carts, like a wagon, which they've used to bring all their wares, and they're maybe like sleeping in the wagon, both because it's cheap and to keep an eye on things. And so the market lasts like late into the night, and then they're like up like dawn the next day, setting up again, prepared for people to come in and do some more business. And I thought another thing that would be fun to do, just like a little intro thing, is try out. So that was what they call like a simple roll or a quick roll. I can never remember which way around it is, where you just roll and determine the outcome. But then there's the detailed roll, where you need to like reach a limit or reach a target or something. So I think the challenge for day 2, and after this we'll start rolling on the oracles to determine what happens. But the challenge for day 2, I think, is that as Danik is running the stall again, someone tries to snatch something from it, and does he notice, like, before they make off with it? And I think the same 2 tags, actually maybe not Peddler's Son, maybe just Attentive applies here. Yeah. Okay, 7 is that's another mixed success. So I think Dynak is he's like running his little stall, and he sees he sees someone who's wearing like a hood. Their face is kind of covered, and they're just kind of like at the edge of the crowd. I think there's a fair number of people around, Like Danik just kind of like notices that this person is there, but they don't seem to be like interested in talking to him or like viewing the wares of the stall, so he doesn't pay them much attention. And I got a success, so he just like notices out of the corner of his eye like a thin hand reaching towards the table, and Dynak like sees like someone reaching out towards the table and like going to take something. And Dynak like reach out and like grabs the wrist and is like, "Hey, what do you think you're doing?" And he looks up and sees the person, and it's like a girl, maybe like around his age, maybe like a year or so younger, quite thin, and she just like jerks her hand out of his grasp. She didn't manage to take anything, and just like takes off and runs. And Dynak is like, "Hey, you get back here!" And he just like runs into the crowd after her. And I think the consequence is that his dad doesn't know what's going on. His dad just sees Dynak like yell into the crowd and run off, like abandoning his stall. So I don't think that's going to be like a tag. I think it's going to like affect how his dad treats him when he gets back. So there is, if we look at our challenge add-ons, where is it? It's not in the challenge add-ons at all, is it? Where was it? So I'm looking for like the quarry, like something you're chasing, but there were suggestions of like limits and things, and I thought it was in the challenge add-ons, but maybe. Say we have oh no, it wasn't. It was in the challenge action oracle, I think. Yeah, that's what I'm looking for. So this girl who tried to grab something from the stall is running away. Dynak is chasing after her, so she is a quarry. Incidentally, isn't it really weird that the word quarry means both something you're chasing and a place where you dig stone out of the ground? Why does one word mean both? Anyway, Dynak is chasing her. She has a little bit of a head start, so I'm going to give her a status of escape 2. And I think the reason Dynak is chasing after her is probably part of it is yeah, I think it's mostly because he wants to help the needy, and he believes everyone has some good in them. So he saw this girl who I think I said she was a bit thin. If I didn't, maybe she's a bit thin. Like reaching out to grab something from the stall, and she's like ran away when he caught her. So I think in his mind is, I want to know like what's going on with this person and see if I can help them. Like surely she's not doing this just because she's a bad person. She just made a hard choice in this situation. So it's quite busy. There's a lot of people from all the surrounding villages here, and I think she is like smaller than Dynak, and so she's able to like weave through the crowd more effectively, whereas he's like running through and like veering from side to side to avoid crashing into people, and it looks like she might be making her way away. So he needs to like speed on and catch her, and I think Tenacious makes sense here. This is definitely not going to help his fated confrontation with the Lich. So he is going to tenaciously make it through the crowd. He's not gonna give up on this just because it's hard work. 7 success with consequences. So she doesn't like increase the distance as much as she was going to. So I'm going for this first one here, like moving further away. I was a failure. I was going to say it would be like add 2 to her escape, so she'd be on escape 4. But I think because I got a success with consequences, it's an escape. She's on escape 3, but there's a consequence. what is the consequence? I think Dynak is running along. He's like yelling out like, "Hey, you come back here!" And he just like crashes into a guy. It's like this big fat guy who Dynak just like slams into his belly and bounces off. And the guy's like, "Hey, you watch where you're going." Dynak's like, "Sorry, sir," and like peels off into the crowd. But Dynak is going to get a status of nuisance 1. So you can see tags can really be anything. Just make up whatever seems appropriate. Will him being a nuisance come into play? Don't know. So she's not escaped. Dynak is chasing after her. I think to catch her, we need to get like escape down to 0. That'll be when Dynak catches up. And if she gets escape up to 5, she will make it away. So, and she sees Dynak is like still pursuing, and she like veers off to the side, like trying to lose him. He sees this happening, and also like turns a corner to try to cut her off. So I'm gonna apply his quick recovery to this, as he could maybe have been knocked to the ground by this guy he crashed into, but he didn't. He was able to salvage things and keep moving along. That's an 8, so it's another success with consequences. Let's see. So there is a challenge that I think would make sense to bring into this. Maybe not right at this moment, but one of the suggested challenges for a homestead and village is a stern magistrate. I think we're going to annoy the guy who's like overseeing this market. But I think what happens is, so she makes some more progress away. She is 1 point away from fully escaping, and Dynak has to. He is running along, and it would be kind of dull to say he just crashes into a person again, because we've just had that. So I think he probably loses sight of her. So what I'm picturing is there's this very crowded place where she is like quite away in front of him, and she like veers off to like the left. And Dynak loses sight of her because there's like stalls and stuff in the way. So he sees her turning to the left, and he himself turns to the left, thinking, I'll move along this way, and she'll be able to see her. Like when we get past this stall or tent or whatever. For some reason, I imagine there being a tent there. When I get past this tent, I should be able to see her, and he cannot see her. So let's look at our quarry. So hidden 1 is the status. So she's got 1 point of escape and 1 point of hidden. And let's roll for actually what she does. We've got this oracle here. Why not? 6. Draw another party into the chase. Maybe she's got an associate. I think that makes sense. She's not here stealing from stalls by herself. She is with someone. And so she, I think, is going to... So Dynak loses sight of her, and he's like looking around, and then he like spots her a distance away, and that's because she allows herself to be seen. Dynak takes off after her, and I think we're now out of this challenge because she's going to allow Dynak to catch up with her, because she's going to lead him into an ambush. She has she's working with someone who is more violent than she is. I think she is like doing petty theft from market stalls, whereas she's got I can't think of the word compatriot, but more casual than compatriot. Conspirator. She has a conspirator who is maybe a bit more violent. And so she's like, well, I can't lose. She's thinking that I can't lose this guy, but if he's running a market stall, maybe he has some coin in his pocket. Little does she know that Dynak is low on coin. So neither here nor there. Does Dianac notice that something is amiss, that like another guy is, that he's being led somewhere quiet, that another guy is kind of watching him? Attentive would apply here, so the consequence of this roll will be if Dianac passes, he's going to realize something is amiss. Otherwise, he's going to be led into an ambush. I think he's unworldly. That's going to be a penalty here, so it's actually just 2d6. That's a mixed success. So I think he is led into the ambush, but realizes like just before it becomes too late. We used our weakness here, so let's mark improve on this. I feel like I'm being too granular with these rolls. I feel the roll should resolve a larger thing. So maybe don't like play out him being ambushed. Maybe we just have like the whole yeah, let's just kind of zoom past the whole thing. So he is led into an ambush, but he manages to like get out without being hurt. So what happens is this girl kind of leads, like allows herself to be like seen enough to like, lead Dianac on to like the edge of the market. Maybe it's like by a forest, and she like allows herself to be caught like just beneath the trees, just beyond the market. And Dianac is like, "Hey, what are you playing at? What are you doing, trying to take things from my stall?" And she starts like telling him this this like sob story about, "Oh, I've got no choice. I'm sorry. Please forgive me." But as she's kind of telling this tale of woe, which Dianac is vulnerable to, but we're kind of past the role at this point. He spots her like looking over his shoulder, and he turns around just in time to see like a guy approaching like with a pocket knife out, and he's like, "All right, hand over your money," and maybe tries to like implicate Dianac a bit. It's like, "You bothering this girl? Like maybe we can make this all go away if you just hand over what coin you've got." Yeah, I think that this situation where we should pick up with a roll. So we get in this tense situation, and I feel Dianac probably would hand over his money. He has a heart of gold. He helps the needy. He believes that everyone has some good in them. They just sometimes have to make hard choices. So he's like, okay, don't hurt me. I don't have much. And he hands over this like very light purse. So he now has this tag of broke. Hands over this very light purse. The guy like opens up and is like, "That's all you got?" And he like I don't believe you. He like pats down Dianac's pockets, like goes through his pockets and stuff, and he like looks over at the girl and like says, "So you had to you picked someone who you picked a real loser, cheapskate, something like that." And he just like takes Dianac's purse, laughs at him, and the two of them leave. And Dianac has to like return to the stall, very dejected. His gets back pretty late. I think this chase has gone on for a while. And let's have our nuisance tag come into play here. So I think the magistrate is at the stall. He's been talking to Dianac's dad. He's like, "A young man has been causing..." Dianac like arrives just in time to hear. "The young man who's causing ruckus, I heard, was your son. his father's like, I'm Oba. He's like, I'm so sorry, sir. I'll give him a talking to. It won't happen again. And the magistrate's like, see that it doesn't. All right. It's just youthful, as this is probably just youthful exuberance. I'm willing to overlook it this time, but see that it does not happen again. I wouldn't want to have to fine you for the disorderly conduct of your son. And like, so Dinek just like catches the end of this conversation. The magistrate and just like sees the magistrate leave. The magistrate like notices Dinek, gives him a stern look, and he like looks over to his father, who has also noticed him, and his father like looking at him with a very disapproving expression, like, Dinek, what is going on? And so this like story comes pouring out. Like, there was a girl, she was trying to take something from the stall. I just wanted to like ask her what was wrong, why she's doing this. Maybe we could help her. His father's like, Dinek, some people are just bad. You can't go chasing off after everyone who tries to take something from the stall. If you gotta, catch him out, and if hand him into a magistrate is the only way to approach us. Some people, they just don't want to make a decent living. They kind of have this argument. And his father's like, well, I can't pay you for the work today. I had to run your stall as well as mine. Go to bed and think about what you've done. It's a very unfortunate day for Dinek. So he's completely broke. When I was thinking about this sequence of events before the session, which I kind of picked because I thought it would work through a few different ways of rolling things, I thought maybe he'll catch the girl, and like his heart of gold will win her over, and she might maybe become his companion theme. Well, that went very differently. So the rest of the market kind of passes without incident, and they pack up. There's maybe like 1 day left, so it's like a 3-day thing. They pack up and journey back to their village, which I think we need a name for this village. Also, I totally forgot. I have here. I was going to use this. I totally forgot. So there's another book thing with Legend of the Mist called The Action Grimoire, which has a huge amount of like pre-made challenges and stuff that you can just like drop in if you're feeling a bit low on inspiration or whatever. And I was going to use this selling goods like thing. Like, it's got suggestions of consequences and things. I guess we did an okay job. He didn't make much money. So that's a fitting consequence. But yes, we've got like stuff for that here. There's like 100 pages of like actions of all sorts of different types, groups into categories, which is quite nice. We'll remember this for the next thing. So I think we need a name for this village that they live in. And it's a little sad that the Nomicon does not have a village name generator. It does have a country name generator, so maybe that will do. $16.59. Let's go for Rune. I think the ending, let's say like all the villages in this area will have the same ending. So this one is like Rune, whatever. Another one might be in, whatever. Anyway, what is 59? Gak or Pre. Let's go for Gak. Okay, so they're in the village of Runegak, and other villages around this area might be called Dolgak or Brangak or whatever. I think it wasn't Rune spelled like that. It was Rune with an H. Oops. So there we go. He's in the village, from the village of Runegak. All the villages around here are something Gak. And I think we need something weird to happen. Something that will set us on the path towards the big bad. So let's have a look at... there was a suggestion of how to do Solo Mountain. campaigns. So let's see what it suggests for how we can roll up the next challenge. So we're in the lowlands right now, which is local danger. So this is going to be a very local threat, something in the village. I'm thinking maybe like a blight affecting the crops, or a weird unseasonal weather, or something affecting the harvest, or like someone falls sick, or like a strange deformed animal. That's that sort of thing. A very local level threat that indicates something is wrong, but doesn't really hint at there being a great danger yet. We'll need to encounter multiple threats before we realize that there's something wrong. So let's find the solo mountain suggestion. Okay, so choose your first adventure challenge or roll for it in the Conflict Oracle. As you interpret the adventure challenge, keep it simple and contained to your hero's familiar world. Your series should start small, close to the ground. Okay, and there's some suggestions of what's happened in the adventure. So during the adventure, when you come upon a moment of great discovery, usually as a reward for a successful adventure, but sometimes in the middle of it, choose a revelation fitting for your story or roll on the Revelations Oracle table. And when you discover a representative of an agent or the great danger, okay, we turn to the mountain stuff and use the mountain guidance along with the oracles to interpret that as to get the details of that. And okay, so we kind of do this until we feel we've had enough like small-scale local adventures to move into the next act. So let's go to the Conflict Oracle. Okay, so let's see. We've got Central Challenge, Roll, Threats and Consequences, Target, Location, Unfolding, Secondary Challenge, and Story Tags. So this needs to be an... okay, so we've got some like suggestions, some examples here. So the Central Challenge, the result is the main villain or major vexation. I see. So yes, this is the hero setting out on a journey from their village through farmland to find a thief. Okay. Yeah, let's roll something up and see what we get. Try to produce an adventure. Uh, 64. Roll again twice. Okay, so it's going to be a big challenge. Or maybe we look at 46. Maybe just flip the dice. A community or organization. I feel the fact that it's about a community or organization is kind of, well, I suppose it could be a community or organization doing something to the village. Yeah, let's go for 46. A community or organization. 61. Clearly got my special weighted 6 rolling dice. Is hunting or has stolen. 55. The hero's current goal. We've just done someone stealing from the hero, so let's not do that. So we've got 56. An underling of the main villain or major vexation. That makes sense. Is spying, is manipulating or influencing. 53. A nearby location or your camp. So some underling of the evil lich is manipulating, influencing our village or something near our village. So there are dark forces afoot in the region. I kind of want to know what sort of manipulation we are dealing with here. So maybe we can get some more detail if we find out where exactly this is happening. 46. Plays a political power that doesn't really fit. This is still very local. Maybe like a village still has a place of political power, so there's a nearby town we've established. I kind of want the threat to be in the village though, so the village elder, that tracks. So let's just start jotting down things. So what have we got? We have We have an evil underling. Village elder. I guess we've got a village elder now, or maybe like a council of elders or something, which are being influenced by some evil underling. How does the challenge unfold? 31. A hero is affected first, so this is something which affects us. Maybe maybe the village is becoming isolationist. Or like xenophobic. That would affect us if the village turned inward and didn't want any dealings with people outside. While we're at it, we've been rolling on all these columns. Let's go for a secondary challenge. 44. The heroes are separated or isolated. We've only got one hero. Could also be an obstacle challenge. Let's have a look at the challenges. Okay, I think we can start with this. So there's some evil underling, which is influencing probably with magic. Let's ask a question. I want to know more about this underling first. So I'm going to roll on my interpretive questions oracle. 13. The Elder. Well, that's who's being influenced. What about 31? The Hammer and Chisel. Making a mark. Boldness, duality, and dilemmas. A set of useful tools. Well, the first thing that comes to mind regarding useful tools that could fit into our big bad somehow is we've got those consciousness gems. So maybe the Elder has somehow come into possession of one of these like evil consciousness gems, and it is turning the Elder and through his influence, the village kind of very isolationist, very xenophobic. Maybe the Elder is like becoming paranoid, and sees threats outside the safety of the village, and so he's like discouraging people from traveling. Is very suspicious of people who come back. Yeah, let's go with that. So let's just, I guess, write this out into something a bit more straightforward. So the village elder. Let's have a name for this elder. Is the elder a man or a woman? Let's just say 50-50. 1 to 3, it's a man. It's a woman. The village elder is a woman. And her name is... Let's see, where are the female names? Her name is... oh, it's a D20 table. I don't have a D... I'm not taking a D20 out of my thing. Okay, let's go with 5. Her name is... Oh, hang on. How do you do this? Oh, roll once on a part 1 column and once on a part 2 column. Okay, say 5. 5 and 20. Her name is... Bevion. Maybe it's Bevion. So she's come into possession of. I don't think it's like the gem says like I'm an evil gem in big letters on it. So it's probably like a piece of jewelry or something that she's somehow come into possession of. Like a necklace. Maybe it was picked up at the market. So the village elder, Bevion, has come into possession of a necklace, maybe from the market. I guess we'll roll for that. If it's not from the market, that would be interesting, because someone then might have intentionally done this. Actually, let's leave that as like a follow-on question, because these could lead into subsequent adventures. So where did the necklace come from, and was it intended for her? Like, it could be that she just like saw a nice necklace and bought it at the markets, and that was it, and there was no intent behind this. Or maybe someone decided that the elder of this village needed to be corrupted and ensure that she got this evil necklace. So the village elder, Bevion, has come into possession of a necklace that has one of Avak's evil gems in it. It is turning her paranoid and xenophobic, and she is discouraging Oba from traveling, and yeah, this kind of directly affects Dynak, because if Oba can't travel, Dynak can't travel. And maybe she is like winning over I think she has to be winning over the villagers for this to become a credible threat, really. So she's winning over the villagers. Oh, I deleted my follow-up questions. There we go. She's winning over the villagers to her new line of thinking. Either out of respect for her position and like maybe she's always been like a good village elder, has made reasoned decisions, and people are like, well, like, she wouldn't just be like this for no reason, so clearly she must have a good reason for this. Maybe we should, listen to her. I think we've already established that the people in the village aren't very worldly. Like, Oba and Dynak are probably the most worldly people here, and they just travel around the local area. They probably never make it more than like 2 or 3 days journey from home, and so everyone is very like insular here. So maybe it doesn't take much to turn them against the scary outside world. All right, so that is our situation. And the only thing I want to know really is, like, is this already happening when they get back from the market? Like, has she already got the evil gem now, and is it corrupting her? Because if she's already got it now and it's corrupting her, then when they get back from the market, there might be a kind of showdown where she's like, "You left the village. You're gone for 5 days. What were you doing out there?" And like really demand them to like justify themselves to her. But if she doesn't have it yet, then they'll get back from the village and they'll presumably be like a nice welcome, like, "Hey, well, like, welcome back. Did you have a good time with the market? Oh, sorry to hear you didn't do so well, Dynak." And then we'll see like this change in personality. So yeah, is this a thing that is happening before, or let's see? So asking a yes/no question, and do any of my tags apply here? So the question that I'm asking is she already being corrupted at the time when they go to the market that we've just played through? And I feel that the answer is probably, I feel that the since this is directly related to the Lich, I feel the sense wrongness kind of edges this towards no, because I feel as soon as Dynak like encounters the necklace, he's going to feel something off about it. So I'm actually going to lean this towards no by subtracting 1 from the roll for that sense wrongness. Oh, okay, that is an extreme yes. So because it's a double six. The -1 from the tag doesn't matter. So um, that means that she has already been corrupted. So they set out to the market knowing that she disapproves of this. Maybe they even have to like sneak out of the village. I guess you can't really sneak with a wagon. So I guess before the markets, if we just like jump back in time, um, she's a village elder and she's a woman, so she's probably not gonna be like trying to violently stop them. I think she's like pleading with them, like, "Oh, but don't go out there. Don't like if you must go, don't take Dynak out there. You know what the people are like. You can't trust anyone outside the village. They have strange ways. It's full of thieves and murderers, rapists. Like I'm afraid for Dynak if you expose him to all of that. Maybe she like Oba's trying to like talk her down, like calm her down. Maybe she like pivots to like accusing. She's like, I know you want to go to those dens of iniquity. He's like Bevion, calm down. Like what's got into you? You never used to be like this. Um, like she's like I just know. It's best to stay in the village. So we have this like tense scene, probably quite awkward, very public, I imagine, where she's trying to like shame Oba into not going, and like some of the villagers are like on her side, some are on Oba's side, but I feel the ones that are on her side are like more vocal, the ones that are on Oba's side are more just like looking a bit downcast and not really saying anything. And it ends obviously with Oba taking Dynak to the market in the nearby town, and they're gone for probably like 4 days. So I said it's a 3-day market. They and they started at dawn. So they probably traveled the day before the market, like arrived that evening. It's a village near a town, so it's not going to be more than like 20 miles away, really. So they set off the day before and arrived that evening. They maybe set up their stalls, but then like didn't unpack anything, just like set up the tables and spent the night in the wagon. Then like dawn of the first day, they set up all their stalls. They did business over the next 3 days, and then like night of day 3, after they packed up, they came back to the village. So they get back like really late on the 4th day after the village. And is she waiting for them? I think she is, if she's like paranoid and completely mad at this point. So they pull in, they kind of get towards the village, and they see there's like a bonfire lit, and like what is going on? Like maybe they have like a harvest festival, but it's probably not the right time for it. Like you wouldn't have a harvest festival that overlaps with like an annual big market. That would just be crazy. So you're like, what's going on? Why is there like a bonfire lit? Dynak's like, what's going on, Dad? Like I don't know, son. And when they get into the village, they see that there's Bevion and some of her like, cronies who they've got this like big bonfire set up in the center of the village, and she like looks up when they hear the wagon, and she runs out to them. I say run. She's an old woman. She hurries out to them as fast as she can. She's like, "Oh, thank goodness you're back. I was so afraid. I thought something terrible would happen with you. You've been gone for days." And Oba's again trying to like calm her down. But she's like interrogating them about what they've done, where they've been, why they were gone for so long. He can't convince her that it's the normal amount of time to be gone. Nothing bad happens. I think he maybe lets slip that Dinak got into trouble, or like Dinak chased a thief or something, and she's like, "I knew it. It's a hive of scum and villainy out there. How dare you take such a young impressionable boy into such a place?" And it's just a really uncomfortable situation. And Dinak, I'm not going to roll for whether he senses something like wrong with her. I think he just does. So he has this tag, sense wrongness, and she is wearing quite a nice necklace that has a gem in it. And I think he just feels something is wrong. So that's the setup for this first like proper adventure. Um, hmm. But then what's like the first challenge of the adventure? It's going to be a challenge in the village. So I think he obviously something is wrong with the elder, and like she's acting weird, and Dinak like felt something off about her. I don't think he knows like it's the necklace. Like he's not aware that he can sense evil magic items, but like he feels that so there's something wrong with her more than just paranoia. I think he thinks that maybe she is like sick in some way. Um, she's not going to be the only old person in the village, and old people, sadly, sometimes their mind isn't quite there. So I think he thinks that's probably what's happening to the elder, and like the sense of wrongness he felt probably, um, he like rationalizes that as, um, like picking up on how she's not being herself. Like he thinks that she's not just being paranoid, she's also like acting weird and like not at all like the sort of person she is, and he thinks that's what the sense of wrongness is. So he needs, like the other villagers evidently aren't doing anything to alleviate this situation. She's winning them over. So what would Dinak do to help what he thinks is a kindly old woman who is suffering from some delusion or mental sickness? I think you would go for a healer of sorts. And I'm just going to say that there is a healer nearby. I think um, a fun option that would kind of fit the genre would be if there's like a witch in the nearby woods who Danek could go and be like, "Help, antisocial bog witch! I need help. The village elder's gone mad." Um, hmm. Just consult. Let's see what tables we have got, because I do want to like roll on the oracle tables rather than just make things up. If I'm just making things up, there's not much point having oracles. Though there are, I guess, going to find like a witch who lives in the nearby woods to persuade her to come and have a look at the elder. There are, challenges in the outskirts fields and such like. The witch herself could be a challenge if she's very antisocial. So it does fit. I think when I know a little bit about this, which let's just let's roll for a symbol. And it's been nearly 3 hours now, so I think we'll kind of flesh out what this challenge is going to be, and then call it a night. So I've got 21, the lost sheep, getting lost, wandering, seeking direction, someone in distress. That kind of fits. Okay, so so Dynak wants to go to the witch. So there's a witch who lives in the nearby woods who has a reputation as a healer. So we've rolled the lost sheep. Did we? Yes, the lost sheep. So lost and wandering. I guess that tells me that he doesn't actually know where the witch lives. Maybe the witch is very isolationist. She only comes into the village very rarely. So the witch keeps herself and nobody knows exactly where she lives. She has to be found. I think she is probably antisocial if she, going from two things. So she lives, she doesn't tell anyone where she lives. And I just love the bog witch trope from the character creation. So let's bullet point these as challenges. So there is a witch. She lives out in the wood. She can possibly help. She has a reputation as a healer, but she keeps to herself and no one knows exactly where she lives, so she has to be found. She's antisocial, will not help just out of the goodness of her heart. She needs to be won over. I think the woods themselves are going to be dangerous, so not only do we have to find the witch's home in the woods, I think the woods themselves should have dangers in. And let's have a mixture of mundane and more fantasy like threats. So let's say the woods are known for having wild animals and some say magical creatures. Let's bump that up here as it kind of comes before. So the elder is probably not going to accept the help of the witch. She is paranoid. She's not going to accept help from anyone who comes in saying that she's crazy. And let's see, is that a good amount of challenges? So we have to search the woods for looking for the home of the witch, which will involve which will involve possibly encountering wild animals of both mundane and magical nature. So if you just want to look at in the wilds, some of the things, maybe outskirts and fields is more appropriate. This Bogart thing, like what on earth is this? A troublesome fairy spirit. Got a hedge witch. Runaway farm animals and so on and so forth. Do have this really nice antlered forest spirit thing. That could be cool to encounter one of those. But yeah, this in the wild section is a little bit more wild, I guess. But we do have this Dark Forest journey, so we could possibly use this Dark Forest or something based on it. Okay, so the main challenge, it seems, is going to be getting through the woods, and then there's a secondary challenge of winning over the witch, and then a final challenge of like somehow getting the elder in a position where she has to let the witch examine her. I think that's a good first adventure because, yeah, it involves actually adventuring, going out, finding something, bringing it back, and it should lead us to our next adventure when the witch is like, this is a magic necklace. Where did it come from? Or who gave it to you? Or whatever. So, yeah, I think we'll do this as our first adventure. And it has been 3 hours now, so we'll pick this up next time. Yeah, we'll see where we go. We'll like review the the mountain guidance again, so hopefully it'll be a bit easier to generate an adventure next time. But yeah, I'm sure part of this is just do you think it's possible I can't find the witch? Yeah, I think that could happen. In which case Dynak would have to maybe rely upon his Hearts of Gold to try to influence the Elder in some way. Yeah, we can figure it out when it happens, if it happens. I guess the key thing is that somehow he needs to get to this necklace that she's got and realize the wrongness is in the necklace, and then that will lead to the next thing, because the question he'll naturally have after that is, well, what's up with this necklace? So yeah, we will figure it out if he doesn't find the witch. Although I think finding the witch would be cool, so I hope that does happen. But yes, hopefully if I read through just like review the like campaign design section a bit more, it'll be a bit faster to generate the next adventures and things. But yeah, there's always a learning chunk when picking up a new system. So yeah, we'll call it there. And tomorrow is Disco Elysium, or possibly some other video game. I will see. And then Monday we finished Morkin, so it'll be something new. I think probably a one-shot. There is a solo Call of Cthulhu adventure that I'm planning to try. It is called Alone Against Nyarlathotep. It is a third-party solo Call of Cthulhu adventure. And then we'll continue this on Friday. So, yeah, thanks for tuning in, and see you next time.